Thanks for tuning in to ProLine TV. We are live once again talking football, pro and college alike. We want to thank, of course, Tom Canale for hosting the show down at Dom DeMarco's in Las Vegas. And Jim Feist will be there with Tom each week all throughout this football season. And they will have special guests, including the like you saw today, Chip and Scott were there as official sports handicapping guests. These are the best in the business, and I hope you enjoyed it. Okay, so now let's get to me. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on here midweek. I'm going to give you sort of the perspective that we went over last Friday, because last Friday was the last, hopefully, the last show that I'll be doing on my own on a Friday. Jim Feist, of course, joined me to talk a little NFL, but Mark Lawrence is going to join me as well to talk college football. So I'm going to get the opportunity to talk to both Jim and Mark, my two partners here at ProLine TV, and we're just going to talk about some of the big games, key games as well, that we feel you should be keeping an eye on here on ProLine TV. So what I'm going to do here then, since again, I'm by myself, I'm going to go ahead and give you a little heads up on games I'm already taking a look at and why. Let's turn our attention, first of all, I'll tell you what, we'll start with the NFL. And, of course, you got a really good game on Thursday between Washington and Green Bay. I'm a little bit surprised that the line's only 3. I kind of felt it'd be a little bit, maybe like 4, even 4.5. I wasn't overly impressed with Washington's performance on Sunday, and how can you not be really impressed with the Packers, the way they looked, especially since the Packers are at home. The trends actually, and I do want to remind everybody regarding trends, I'm going to be using the playbook guide from Mark Lawrence all throughout the season. So hopefully you've already invested in this. It's the Playbook magazine. It's available right now. There's only 1 week in the NFL gone by. You have many more weeks to come, including the postseason. So great investment. NFL, there's 2 pages for each team, 1 page for all college football teams in the FBS. Check it out. You can't handicap games without it, or at least I can't. Okay, so I was looking at the trends for the Washington-Green Bay game, and to tell you the truth, I didn't really see anything that was one-sided. I think both Washington and Green Bay have some good trends coming in this one. So I'm just going to leave it to the fact that, as I said, I just think Green Bay looked a lot better than Washington did. These are 2 playoff caliber teams. We know that. We'll see how Green Bay maybe comes down a little bit, because they were super hyped, obviously, for the Detroit Lions division opponent. They were awful last year in the division, Green Bay. They needed to get off to a good start, and they did. And now it's a little bit of a downer, and it's a short week. Washington, meanwhile, I don't know how high you have to get up for the New York Giants. So I think that edge might actually work a little bit for Washington. Now let's move on to the rest of the games. Okay, right off the bat, I'm just going to tell you right now, this is going to be one of my top plays of the week. And I kind of felt that this was going to be a top play for me even before last week's games, depending, of course, on just how good the Jets played. I thought if the Jets played okay, even if they lost and maybe were outgained by Pittsburgh, I'd probably still take the Jets. I know I would. But there's a big difference between taking them and liking them as one of my top picks. And that's because last week the Jets played better than I could have imagined. I thought Fields, his passing accuracy was on target like I probably have never seen it. Whether it was the deep touchdown pass to Wilson or just some incredible passes to keep drives alive down the middle. He really was as good as you can expect. Now, one of the things, he's still a little off accuracy-wise. There's little out patterns. There's little 5 to 10-yard out patterns, sideline patterns. But, I'm nitpicking. Fact is, he was outstanding. The running game was outstanding. They outgained Pittsburgh. And look, if they didn't fumble the ball on the kickoff, I think they stood a really good chance of winning. And keeping in mind this as well, and Jim and I talked about this on the show on Monday, remember this, 2 things. The Jets, their number 1 kick returner, got injured, left the game. The backup comes in, fumbles the ball, gets released. Everybody knows this by now, yesterday. Okay? So that's how close he was to making the team. He makes the team. He gets the chance. He screws the chance. He's gone. Also, the Steelers had that crazy deflection, sort of like the Scott Frost touchdown from years ago for Nebraska against Missouri. It was a really weak, lucky reception. That gets them to about the 40-yard line, 43-yard line, something like that. And then Rodgers goes incomplete. I think that's what it was. And so now it's 4th down, and they have to kick a 60-yard field goal, and they make it. So those 10 yards that were gifted to them was everything they needed to kick that 60-yard field goal and then to beat the Jets. So look, the way the game ended, and I will say this as a Jet fan, and I'm not trying to say same old Jets. The fact of the matter is that and I think we saw this with some of the other games on Sunday as well, or some of the other nights, even Monday night. Buffalo beating Baltimore, Minnesota beating Chicago, and there are a few others. This is just an attitude that certain teams just have, a confidence, hey, we're going to find a way, as opposed to, we're not going to find a way, or we're not sure if we can make it work because we haven't made it really work before in this spot. And that's where the Jets are right now. They're going to figure it out at some point, but they're not there yet. Steelers are, because they had still, if you look at the coaching, you take a look at the quarterback, and of course, that's the two biggest parts of a football team. They had that confidence. We're going to pull this out. We're going to win the game. And that's exactly what they were able to do. But as far as the Bill game against the Jets, here's an important stat as I leave you with this and we move on to the next game. And this is really the one that put it over the top for me. Actually, it's a couple of things. The Jets are 2-1 straight up, 2-1 straight up and 3-0. Actually, is it 3-0 against the spread? I believe it is. The last three that they played the Bills. Yes, 2-1 straight up. And let me just double check that. I want to be precise. I always do. I usually put it in here in my notes, but I failed to do that. Just want to double check. They beat the Bills, by the way, actually in the last 3 years at home. Okay, this is just Jets-Bills home. 2022, Jets win by 3 as a 10-point dog. 2023 at home, Jets win by 6 as a 2-point dog. Last year at home, Jets lose by 3 as a 1-point favorite. Believe it or not, that was still the time of the season where the Las Vegas numbers were absolutely ridiculous with the New York Jets. And I laughed about it all last year, about how to take advantage and bet against the Jets last year. But the point is that, yes, they did not cover that spread, but they were the favorite in the game. Probably should have been a 3-point dog. But anyway, the point is that when the Jets are at home against the Bills, Josh Allen has not had his best games. The Jets have been able to play him tight. They've been able to win the games recently. And I think that's going to matter this week. And another reason why I think it's going to matter is because the Bills are going to be coming off an incredible one for the ages Sunday night win against Baltimore. And this is a game that we're all revved up for however long that they've been revved up for it, because it's been a while. They know it's on the schedule. It's their first game. And even though they beat them already, it's still, you know what you're going to come up against. They were the dog in the game, which I still think was disrespectful. And they go ahead and win the game in miraculous fashion. There is no way that the Buffalo Bills are going to be able to match anything close to that intensity that they had on Sunday night. The Jets, meanwhile, 0-1, already kind of back against the wall, don't want to start 0-2, which is not a death knell anymore in the NFL with the extra game especially, but still, knowing that they've had the Bills number the last 3 years in this spot, I think it's a perfect situation for the Jets to take advantage of that. And also, remember, the Bills gave up, a huge number on the ground overall. Where's my numbers here? They gave up 238 rushing yards to the Ravens. And the Jets, of course, had a big day, 182 yards rushing. So I think that those stats right there tell you that the Bills have a lot of work to do with their run defense. They also have injuries in the secondary. Maybe they were trying to compensate, for the passing game, let up a little bit on the running game. Keep this in mind too. Aaron Glenn, when he was a defensive coordinator with Detroit the last 4 years, the Lions, or his record as a coach, 10-3 against the spread in the first 3 games of the season. And the reason I bring that up, first 3 games, and that includes the cover on Sunday, first 3 games, because of the fact that Aaron Glenn, he gets his guys physically ready to play sooner than any other team in the NFL. They are hitting early in training camp. They get at it early, and that's why they are ready to go when the season begins. And I think that does them justice. So I feel pretty good for the Jets to cover the game. I think they have a pretty good chance also of maybe surprising the Bills and pulling off the upset, even though the Bills have won 3 straight against the Jets overall, straight up and against the spread. And get this, this is the Bills' only road game until October 13th when they go and face Atlanta. Next week, short week, Miami, Thursday night. So this is also kind of a little sandwich situation. Emotional game with the Ravens. You're playing the Jets. It's just the Jets. And then we got a Thursday night game on national TV coming up. Short week. I think it's a kind of sandwich that works in the Jets' favor. Let's move on. Here's another game I like a lot. It's the Cowboys as a 5.5-point favorite in this one. And if you look at it, the Cowboys just own the Giants and really own the trends here big time. The Giants are only 5-12 against the spread as a road dog in the last 17. Dallas, meanwhile, 12-6 against the spread. Their last 18 as a home favorite. Also, more importantly, the Cowboys are 26-4 against the spread in their last 30 games when they were a division favorite of more than 2. 26-4. Also, the Cowboys, get this, have covered 14 straight as a favorite of 2 or more when they come off a division game and they take on a losing team. So, you want another one? The Cowboys have beat the Giants 8 straight, 6-1-1 spread record in those 8. The line is dropped actually from 6 to 5.5. And you want to know really what you need, the final, I think, note that you need to pay attention to is, will Andrew Thomas play for the Giants? Because I'm never betting the Giants again if Andrew Thomas isn't playing. I mean, I feel like an idiot for taking the Giants last week without him. The Giants, if you take a look at their overall mark with Andrew Thomas, they have a winning percentage of 385, which is not great. That's 23-37. Without Andrew Thomas, they are 5-18. That is a 217 winning percentage. So, yeah, keep an eye on Andrew Thomas if he plays or not. If he doesn't, man, I'm really pushing those chips in. Okay. Now, here's a game that I'm actually taking. I'm taking the Browns. Just like we talked about with Buffalo and how the kind of emotional drop-off, I don't think that changes just because you lost. Not in the second game of the season, it doesn't. The Ravens are not going to be able to mentally get into this football game right off the bat. Now, maybe, they'll struggle in the first half and it'll be close. And then the second half, they'll go boom, 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 touchdown, 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 we cover. Okay, maybe take the first half. I'm not one of those half-quarter guys, but I can see it. Meanwhile, if you take a look a little bit closer just at these two teams, one trend that really works against the Ravens, 0-8 ATS home as a favorite off a non-division straight-up favored loss. That is a Mark Lawrence playbook special. I think more importantly, the Browns have won 4 out of 7 straight-up ATS against the Ravens, and they've been a dog in 4 of those games. So I'm taking the Browns to cover. It is now 12.5. Don't forget, they outgained Cincinnati 327-141. And we talk about coaching all the time. And I don't know how many times you just have to keep reminding fans outside of Cleveland. I don't have to remind the Cleveland Browns fans who live in Cleveland and know everything about this team. But the fact is, Kevin Stefanski can coach. And when Stefanski can put together because they actually have decent personnel on this team. They are a quarterback away from being a playoff caliber team. That is it. You saw that on Sunday. This is not bad personnel. And Joe Flacco now gives them a chance because he's showing that, yeah, I still have something left in the tank. But the problem is Joe Flacco is not really still a top 15 quarterback, top 20 quarterback. If he was, the Browns win the game. But he's still better than what they've had, which is why they're going to be better record-wise if he can stay healthy the whole season. But as far as this one, I think it's a lot of points to give up. It's early in the season. The Browns have played really well against the Ravens in the past, so I'm taking the Browns plus the 13. Okay, this line has just dropped to 3, and I'm just going to guess, wild guess, Brock Purdy ain't playing. And if that's the case, then it looks like Mac Jones will start. So here's the question, I guess, that I have to pose now. No Kittle, no Purdy. McCaffrey's still playing. Everybody else is still playing. Of course, Ayuk doesn't come back for a while. What on earth are the Niners doing as only a 3-point favorite? So now someone's got to tell me that Spencer Rattler is a better quarterback than Mac Jones. I'm not saying Mac Jones is a great quarterback. I don't even know. Maybe Spencer Rattler has gotten to the point now in his career that he can match Mac Jones. I don't know. Because Mac has not really impressed me very much lately. But still, come on. As far as the coaching and the experience and just come on. San Francisco total, they really were the better team last week against Seattle. Seattle needed to run the football, and San Francisco wouldn't really let them do it. And Sam Darnold just could not come up with some big plays we needed to, especially at the end of the game. Fact is, you have to take San Francisco in this spot. I'm not really big on the Niners this year, but the schedule is really what is going to put them in this type of position, because this is exactly one of those situations. This is why the schedule is important, because if they were playing a tough team with these injuries, they're probably going to lose the game, but they're playing the Saints. So now they just have to win this game, move on to the next week, and get maybe Purdy back. We'll see what happens there. Saints, meanwhile, are 6-12-1 against the spread. Their last 19 as a home dog. And don't forget, they just lost the spread on Sunday. Bengals just 3.5 over Jacksonville. And in this one, there is a note in here I have in this game. That is the fact that the Jags are 10-4 against the spread. Their last 14 as a road dog. Cincinnati, meanwhile, 0-7 ATS at home off a division road game versus an AFC team. That's, again, a playbook special. But the 10-4 last 14 road dog spot, this is actually where Jacksonville has been good. So 3.5, I like that. I'd actually take Jacksonville in this spot. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals won the game again, something like 17-16. But Bengals obviously need to come and play a little bit better offensively. We know that, and they will. They will. I think they'll have a much better showing here offensively. They're at home. Denzel Ward has historically done a good job, and the Browns have. The Browns have against Jamar Chase, and that's what you have to do to limit the Bengals passing game. They were able to do that, and we'll see. Hey, Bengals got what they wanted there, and that was a win. Rams 5.5 against Tennessee. And this is one of those games that does look like you should just jump all over the Rams. They're clearly the better team. Tennessee's offense, what did they have? They had basically, 100 and I think they had barely 150 yards of total offense. I think something like that in the loss against Denver. And now they're playing a Ram defense that's every bit as good as Denver's. The only thing to keep in mind, though, okay, it is a West Coast to East Coast 1:00 game, and the LA Rams are at Philadelphia next week. Sandwich game, if you ever saw one. Kind of even more of a sandwich game than the Jet situation, because the Rams are looking definitely ahead at the Eagles. There ain't no question about that. And they were definitely looking forward to that Houston matchup. And then you got Tennessee in between, West Coast to East Coast trip, all that. Tennessee's defense is actually pretty decent, and that's what kept them in the game for the most part. But they've lost 7 straight games, and at least they covered. And that's important because they were a terrible cover team last year. So, and they deserved it, because even though they got out yardage by a mile, the fact is that game, really the defense kept them in it, and they were able to hold on. The Rams, though, were 7-1 against the spread. Their last 8 as a road favorite. Bears at Lions. I actually thought that this line might have been a little bit shorter than this because you have to be concerned with Detroit after their first showing. I will say this. I think what we saw last week shouldn't be too much of a surprise. I believe Detroit will be fine, but it's going to take them a little bit. It's going to take them a little while to get everybody in sync, the new coaching staff. They gotta, especially the OC. They've got to get this team rolling, and it's going to take a little while. So I would actually take the points here. I'm not going to touch the game more than likely because I'm not a Bears guy. I'm not a Caleb Williams guy. Let's just put it that way. They are 14-25 ATS, the last 39 as a road dog. So why would I touch them? And Detroit will be at Baltimore on Monday Night Football next week. This is not a look ahead game though, because it's a division game and they lost last week. So I'm not too concerned about that. Covered 11 out of 12 off a double-digit ATS loss. This spread, deservedly so, moved up from 2 to 3. And I still think Pittsburgh may not be a bad play here because of the fact that if you look at it, their defense just can't play any worse. It was amazing that the defense played like that. I could look at it this way. Hey, Seattle wants to run the football, right? So now here's Pittsburgh. They struggled to stop the run. Seattle wants to run the football. Problem is, I didn't really see Seattle as maybe, I don't know if it's personnel. I don't know what it is, but the offense, and you could say San Francisco's defense had a lot to do with that. But again, I think Pittsburgh's defense is pretty good as well. We'll find out. This is why I always say it's so early in the season. Matchup, sometimes it's all that matters. And some teams just good against other teams. Offenses against defense. You never know. So it's still early to find out what we have here with these teams. But I just think it's Pittsburgh's at home. It's their home opener. Seattle, West Coast to East Coast. I know they're desperate for the win, but they have got to look a lot better. They must run the football. There is no chance Seattle has to be a winning football team this year unless they run the football effectively, and they were unable to do that last week, and they have to do it this week. They're 7-3-1 against the spread as a road dog, so that's good. And they've covered 4 straight after they've actually played the Niners. Now, here's another game that I definitely like, and I could see the one reason why some people might want to take Miami, and that's because the Dolphins have won 8 out of 9 against the Patriots, and they've covered all 9. So they have the Patriots number, to say the least, and they're taking on a Patriot team, as we thought going into the game last week, would not be able to handle the situation of being the favorite. It was the first time they've been the favorite with Drake May at quarterback. All of this talk in the offseason about the Patriots are the sleeper team. They have a weak schedule, and Patriots. Remember, we were looking at the AFC standings and the Las Vegas standings, and they had the Patriots as 5-1 to win the East, and the Jets were 20-1. And it was laughable. And I think you saw on Sunday what we were talking about. So this is still a good young Patriot team, all right? But there was just too much pressure on them. Geno Smith is a veteran quarterback. Pete Carroll, a winning Super Bowl coach. They knew what they were doing. They were not going to make this easy for the Patriots, and they won the game. But this is different. Now, all of a sudden, the charm's off because you lose it quickly, and especially if you're a team like the Patriots have been, a losing team lately. But you're playing the Dolphins, and everybody knew going into the season which coach had the hot seat more than any other coach, and that's McDaniel. And then this happens on Sunday. So I don't know how you don't take the Patriots. I mean, the Patriots are a better team than Miami. I think everybody knows that. Okay, now I guess we'll find out on Sunday. I don't care where the game is. I don't even care how hot it is. The fact is, if the Patriots are a better team than Miami, they would beat them on Sunday, or vice versa. That's why I'm taking the Patriots. And I'm getting 1.5, which I'm actually surprised about. Okay, Carolina and Arizona. Arizona is a 6.5-point favorite. By the way, with Carolina, Bryce Young, what an awful performance on Sunday. I don't know where, that was not the Bryce Young from the end of last season. That was the Bryce Young from the beginning of last season. So it just reminded us of the bad Bryce Young. He was not good. And Carolina has no chance if he's going to play like that. They are 4-13-1 ATS as a road dog in their last 18. Of course, they lost again last week against Jacksonville. And they're taking on an Arizona team that they actually upset late last year when Bryce Young was going well. Denver and the Colts. This all of a sudden becomes a very intriguing game. Two good defenses going up against each other. Tried to tell everybody the Colts defense is good, and it sure showed it against Miami. And if they get any sort of play from Daniel Jones, they are going to be dangerous. So this is not a shock of what we saw with the Colts. Okay, so Bo Nix, though, how bad was he? I mean, he looked like a rookie. It was like if he played like that last year, which he did at times, I'd be like, all right, he's a rookie. What are you going to do? He's not a rookie anymore. You expect a lot better than – and they threw the ball a lot. That's Sean Payton's fault. And they got to run the football, establish the running game more. But Bo Nix was really off. But get this, Bo Nix is 2-0, straight up and against the spread as a road favorite this year. They beat Indianapolis last year, beat them up last year, actually. Remember the game. This was the game where Jonathan Taylor decided to celebrate before he scored and passed the goal line. And that made the highlights and all that kind of stuff. And then it was a blowout after that. So maybe Taylor will get his revenge. Colts, by the way, just 1-7 ATS versus AFC West teams when they take them on at home. Let me see if I can answer that question for you. Let's see. Since it was nine, I can do that pretty quickly, but I'm going to try to take the easy way out. Because if it was 9 years, let me see if it ended in New England. Because we go back 10 years in the Playbook magazine. And no. Oh, wait, here it is. 2016. So there we go. That was the last time the Patriots won in Miami. 2016. They blew them out as a 7-point favorite. Those were the days, huh? Okay. Thanks for the question. The real DeMarque. Let's move on. And you get the huge game everybody's going to be looking at, the Eagles and the Chiefs. Another thing that we try to warn everybody about every year, and that's Super Bowl losers. And Super Bowl losers have a very tough time the next year, no matter who they are. Now, some teams, because of Mahomes and Reed and Belichick and Brady, they still get to the playoffs again. But the Chiefs, even if they make the playoffs again, their ATS record, not very good. When Andy Reid is not very good following Super Bowl losses. So they've already gotten off to a bad start. And look, this spread just moved to Philadelphia 1.5. So the Chiefs are a home dog. Now I haven't, because this line just moved, I haven't had time to look at it. So let me see what I see here in the playbook. The last time Chiefs were a home dog, they've been a home dog once, at least in the last 4 years. That was in 2022. And in that game as a home dog, they lost to Buffalo by 4. So that's the last time they've been a home dog in the last 4 years. I have to go back to 2020 to try and look for more home dog situations. They were a home dog against the Chargers late in the 2020 season and lost that game. And I don't see any other home dogs that season. So they're 0 for 2 since 2020. 2019, let's see if I see any home dog situations. Minnesota, okay, so they beat the Vikings in 2019 as a home dog. Lost to Green Bay the week before that as a home dog. Said they were 1-1 in 2019. I think we'll pretty much stop at that. I just want to give it one more shot. No such lines in 2018. In 2017, no such lines. 2016, looks like, again, no such lines. And the last one is 2015. We go back 10 years. And no such line. So in the last 10 years, they have been a home dog. And I might have missed one, but they've been a home dog 3 times. And I think I said 3 times, and they lost 2 of them. Is that what I said? Anyway, the fact is they have been a home dog the last 2 times in the last 5 or 6 years, and they've lost both games. Okay. You would think that'd be the other way around. I think it's the other way around, if I'm not mistaken. I think as a road dog, I think they're really good. I remember that from last year. Let me see. Their road dogs are really good stat. Yes. Last year, though, they started off good as a road dog. Which game were they the road dog? The Niners. Okay. So we talked about that. They were 7-0 as a road dog. ATS. I don't know how many of those games they won. And then they started off with the road dog win at San Francisco. So they went 8-0 as a road dog. Now, I don't know. Maybe in 2020, here I go again, taking a look at the numbers to see how far back you got to go. And I'm not going to do like I did there. Oh, Baltimore, they won as well in 2020. So they were on a major roll as a road dog. But then all of a sudden, the last 2 games last year, like a lot of the other games, because they were a bad spread team, they did not cover. So they are now, but that's road. This is home. And again, so don't look at it. Oh my God, the Chiefs are a home dog. You got to take the Chiefs. No, they've lost those last 2 spots. So I don't think that's the deal. And look, I wasn't overly impressed with the Eagles either. And yeah, okay, they lost their top defensive tackle. I get it, but that doesn't excuse everything. So I think the Eagles still have to go out there and prove themselves once again, like every other team in the NFL. And the Chiefs are in a situation where you don't want to go 0-2. But again, even if the Chiefs go 0-2, it doesn't mean they're not going to make the postseason. So anyway, we'll see about that. I'm sure it's a game we'll probably talk about later on the network. Atlanta at Minnesota. The Vikings are now down to a 3.5-point favorite, as probably well they should be. I thought that line was a little high, but the Falcons are only 2-8 against the spread. Their last 10 as a road dog, and they are a bad spread team. And this is just sort of like Chicago. I'm not taking these teams. Atlanta 27-41-1 in the last 69 games against the spread. 0-1 this year. Vikings have beaten the Falcons the last 2 years straight up and against the spread. So they're going to look to make it 3 straight. And the Bucks and the Texans, 2 division champs from last year. Houston is the team that obviously needs this one. After dropping their game to the Rams, they are 4-9 against the spread in their last 13 as a home favorite. The Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield are 10-3 ATS road dog in the 2 years Baker's been there, including, don't include it from Sunday because he was a favorite. They've covered 8 straight as a non-division road dog of 3 or more. Right now, 2.5. So we'll see what happens by the end of the week. But this is a bad one. And this is the one I probably don't care as much about, but it's a stat. They're 0-10 against the spread on Monday Night Football following a straight up win. And that is going to wrap up our college football talk. Now our NFL talk. Now what I want to do is share some college football notes with you. And let's run through the board here. There's the Thursday game. There's Friday. This is a good Friday game, Houston and Colorado. I actually like Houston in that one, but I don't know if I'm going to take the game. I'm going to take this one. I like Arizona against Kansas State. And Arizona is they're already looking like a new team from this year. Brennan is a good coach. I figured he was going to get this team going again, and that's what's happening. He's got Fafita coming back, a veteran quarterback. They are looking like the team we thought we were going to see last year. Nobody knows what's going on with Kansas State. I mean, they barely beat North Dakota. Then they lose to Army as a 17-point favorite. And here you're looking at this situation, and not good. Kansas State 1-7-2 against the spread on the road when they take on a conference opponent with a win percentage of over 700. Throw in the fact that Arizona has got revenge on their mind, which is more important in college than the NFL. Kansas State beat Arizona last year by 24 points. So you know how Arizona feels about that. They are 6-0 against the spread after scoring 35 or more points. And they're already 1-0 this year because they did that after scoring over 35 in week 1. So I like Arizona in this one. And they are getting now a 1.5 after they were a 1-point favorite to open. So fine. Go ahead. Jump all over Kansas City if you want. All right. Georgia Tech is now a 3-point dog in this one. I obviously like Georgia Tech in this one. I've told you guys as much as I could how much I'm a big sleeper fan of this team in the ACC. I think this could be a big year for the program. Clemson, look, if Antonio Williams does not play, I'm all over Georgia Tech. If he does play, I'm just going to stay away from this game and watch it because Clemson is in a tough position right now. They have got to get some positive momentum going. And this is, very, as you can see, of course, it's very close to being a pick 'em. And if we look at this rival, if we look at the numbers here overall, because we have a bunch of them, since these are ACC rivals, Clemson is 9-1 against the spread off a double-digit home win. They are 9-0 straight up, 7-1-1 ATS when they take on Georgia Tech in the last 9. So they have owned this series. This is not good. In true road openers, the last 5 years, Clemson 3-2 straight up, 0-5 against the spread. So that's not good. Georgia Tech, meanwhile, under Brent Key, head coach, the last 2 years, they're 2-1 straight up, 3-0 against the spread as a home dog. So I still like Georgia Tech, but I'm probably not going to take them because I get no value here. I'm not going to take them unless Antonio Williams doesn't play. If he doesn't play, I love Georgia Tech. Okay, let's see what steps out. How about this one? I said it on Monday that Troy was a nice little dog pick to keep an eye on. And lo and behold, the spread has dropped from 6 to 3.5. Well, there goes my value. Now all of a sudden it's like, yeah, I think I'll probably still take them, but I was getting 2-1 on the money line. Now I'm getting half of that. Memphis, get these trends. 1-11 ATS off a straight up ATS win when they take on an opponent with a win percentage greater than 400. 0-11-1 ATS is a favorite of 17 or less after they score 35 or more. Okay, so that's not good. They also beat Memphis did Troy last year by 21 as an 18-point home favorite. So Troy has a little bit of a revenge factor in this one. Look, I said this on Monday. I think Troy is a well-coached team now. I like Parker, this head coach, former Notre Dame offensive coordinator. I think this is going to be a rebound, solid season for Troy. I don't think Memphis is an AAC championship team. They just lost way too much from last year. The good news is they have Brendan Lewis at quarterback, who was the quarterback, I believe, at Nevada. And he's a good quarterback. He's experienced. He's got some tools. But, yeah, I've lost all value here now. All right, let's see. Here's one. Absolutely love this one. Absolutely love Georgia. And this line keeps going down. I think this line, honestly, when the week began, I was thinking 7 points, something like that. 3.5 now, down from 5. Okay, Georgia's 4-8 ATS, less 12 as a road favorite. I don't care. This is what I care about. Two major things. Georgia has won 8 straight against Tennessee, covering 7 of them by a 24.8 margin. And that includes 6-0 straight up ATS last 6 years. Keeping in mind that last year, when they had a 14-point win versus Tennessee, it was the smallest margin of victory during that stretch. And they were an 8-point favorite, which was the shortest line during that stretch. Now it's coming all down to 3.5. Why, I have no idea. Keeping in mind that Tennessee is without their starting cornerbacks, who were considered maybe the best starting cornerback duo in all of the SEC, which really means maybe all of the country. McCoy is considered a first-round draft pick. But then in January, he suffers an ACL injury. And he has yet to establish himself ready to go at all. Throw in the fact that their second cornerback, what was the kid's name? Ricky Gibson, gets hurt against Syracuse week 1. He's not going to be available. Now you're taking out the starting cornerbacks from Tennessee, and this line is still going down. So somebody's got to explain to me, does Gunnar Stockton have some sort of an injury? Does he have the clap? What's going on with Gunnar Stockton? I don't get this. I'm sorry. I don't understand it. Maybe that scares me more than anything. but I'm all over Georgia. I like Pittsburgh in this one. They're just more talented than West Virginia. It's not even close. All right, what else do we have here? Let's see if we get another good one. There's some more good ones coming. My South Florida Bulls. Yes, my little group of 5 team. South Florida making me look like a genius with their win over Boise and then actually beating Florida. It was just so satisfying to see that. But now, it can't keep going like this. Not when you're playing in Miami now. So the question is, will they cover? And I see no reason to believe that they won't be able to do that. I don't see any reason to think that they're just going to fall down and we went as far as we could, and this is it, and we're done. No, I think they'll still fight hard. I still think they'll hang in there. And the point spread is so big that even if they give up like a late score in the fourth quarter, I think that'll be enough to cover. They have covered 12 of 16 on the road. Okay. They also will take on a Miami team that has beaten them 4 straight up and against the spread the last 4 meetings, including 50-15 last year. So you're going to tell me that just because South Florida won their first 2 games against really good teams as dogs, and now it's like, well, we didn't have to win this game. We could still, win the AAC and we'll get to the playoffs, that kind of deal. And you think that that's how they're going to treat this game? You think that they don't remember that last year? Come on. No way. Miami, meanwhile, does not leave the state of Florida until October 17th. That is really beneficial. What's the money line in this one? 525. Okay. What else do we got here? I think Bowling Green is actually a good upset play here. They're getting 2-1 against Liberty. All right. Here's one. Speaking of I don't understand. How about this one? Where is it? I don't live in South Florida anymore, but I remember living there, and this was a nice little rivalry. Okay. Check this out. FAU. 7-0, straight up and against the spread, the last 7 versus FIU by a 30-point margin. And they've been favored in 6 of the 7. Now they're getting 2.5. Throw in the fact that FIU is a Conference USA team. They have Conference USA players. Conference USA is weak. It's the weakest conference in college football, meaning FIU is considered a bottom half of the Conference USA team, meaning this is as bad as it gets in the FBS. Now, I don't think they're anywhere near the worst team in the FBS. There are a lot of other bad teams. I'm not saying that. I even like Jenkins, the quarterback. And I think they're in the right hands. They got this coach, Willie Simmons, who was the head coach at FAM of Florida. FAMU is what they call it down there, Florida A&M. But it's still Conference USA talent versus AAC talent, which is considered the top group of 5 conference. All right, FAU. And look, I know Simmons has really good, successful head coaching experience, and Kitley does not. But Kitley is bringing his high IQ offense to Florida Atlantic with better talent there than what they have at FIU. And they had a monster season, the Red Raiders did last year when he was the OC, and now he's with FAU. And here's the thing that I think people might be looking at was last week was FIU only losing to Penn State 34-0. And I think they didn't get blown out. Like it wasn't like 600 yards to 100. And I think that is not how you should be looking at games. I'm sorry. Do you honestly believe that even when Penn State had their starters out, that they cared at all about showing up against FIU? Come on. So Now, again, maybe FIU is going to be a good team, and they're going to win on Saturday against FAU, and they're going to show everybody that, hey, we competed against Penn State. We finally got off the schneid against FAU, our rival, and this is going to be a really good year. We got a really good coach, and watch out for us. Okay, fine. That could definitely happen. But how do you not take FAU under these circumstances? I'm sorry. I have to take it. It's one of those things that I'm not going to put a bushel of money on it, obviously, because we're still talking about FAU. But everything there, and look, FAU, their quarterback, even though I think Jenkins is a fine young quarterback, Veltecamp, the quarterback for FAU, came from Western Kentucky, Conference USA, but he threw for over 3,000 yards there as the quarterback of the team that lost in the conference championship game. Okay, so they got that quarterback. So quarterback-wise, they're still, if you want to say on par, I still think their quarterback situation is a little bit better than FIU's. And again, I think overall, FAU has more talent. We'll see whether or not FIU can finally upset. Not even an upset. That's the thing. This is another thing that I talk about every year in college football, especially whenever I see a team that when one team has a dominant a trend line over another, historical streak line, and they just keep beating them, and then all of a sudden in 1 year, the team that gets beat all those years becomes the favorite of the game. I always take the dog, the team that has that record of beating the other team, because unless something is just so dramatic, within the situation. But this is one of those points right here. And I'm telling you right now, based on that line of thinking on my behalf, I hit these like 90% of the time. I'm not going to hit them all the time, but I hit them 90% of the time, because there is no there's no reason for this, because you're telling still a number of players that were a part of FAU. Everybody didn't leave FAU. There's still half of those players there. There's still the communities are still so close together. Everybody knows what's going on there. Everybody knows within those communities who's been the big boss there for the past 7 years. Everyone knows it. And then you're going to favor them over us after what we've done to them? We haven't just beat them the last 7 years. We beat them by 30 points a game. And they're the favorites this week? Okay. So under that situation, that's why most of the time the dog winds up coming through. Oh, speaking of dogs, I love Arkansas. Absolutely love Arkansas this week. This is an upset play. Taylor Green is off to a tremendous start for Arkansas. They also added a running back from New Mexico State, Mike Washington, and he's a nice little tough running back. Not even little. He's a nice, tough running back. I don't know why I said little. Probably because I was thinking, Mike Washington, the Colts running back. I don't know how he got in my head. That was a long time ago. Anyway, good wide receivers, strong offensive line. This is a powerful Arkansas offense. And Ole Miss has a quarterback, Austin Simmons, a young sophomore quarterback. Get this. He's got a 3 touchdown to 4 interception ratio after his first 2 games. He's only completing 60% of his passes, and had 2 interceptions versus Georgia State and Kentucky, because that's where the 4 interceptions coming from. So it was Georgia State too. It wasn't like they played 2 SEC teams to start the season. Ole Miss is 5-11-1. ATS is a home favorite the last 17. Arkansas, meanwhile, has won 6 of the last 12 against Ole Miss, and they've covered 10 of those 12. 6 of those are upsets. And you want to, here's our third revenge situation that we're throwing in a little bit of a sprinkle on top. Ole Miss beat Arkansas last year 63-31. Sam Pittman, head coach of Arkansas, in his 5 years at Arkansas, 16-6 as a road dog. I'm all over Arkansas here, and I'm going to take the money line, which is 225 as well. Here's another upset play, Old Dominion and Virginia Tech. And I said it last week when I went with Vandy as my top play, one of my top 2 plays, that I think Virginia Tech is going to be moving on from their head coach, It's just there's no talent there anymore. This isn't the same program, and I mean, it is so tough to play at Blacksburg at night. And you saw it last week, and they had a really good first half against Vandy, and then the talent just overcame Virginia Tech. And Vanderbilt just way more talented. Believe it or not, they are. They're Virginia Tech. How about this? The Hokies 0-7 ATS versus non-conference teams off of a win, and they're 0-1 in that spot this year. 0-6 against the spread at home versus an opponent off a double-digit straight-up win. 0-1 in that spot this year. Old Dominion ended last year losing 6 by 8 or less. Upset 2 teams as 10-point dogs. 12-5 ATS, last 17 as road dogs. 1-0 in that spot this year when they covered at Indiana. And they played Virginia Tech 5 times, the last 5 times, winning 2 of them, covering 3. So, and watch out for this running back, Jaquan Jones. A JUCO kid, didn't play the first week. He averaged 32 yards an attempt last week in the game against our FCS opponent, and had 3 touchdowns, 163 yards on five rushing attempts. I'm just saying that because maybe this is a kid that we need to keep an eye on, but we'll see this week when they play a real FBS team. And the kid quarterback Joseph had 2 huge touchdown runs against Indiana, over 70 yards each. He's a good runner. The passing still has a work in progress. I think this is a game that if Old Dominion just doesn't give the game away with turnovers, things like that, I think this is a full quarter game. And I think Virginia Tech could be a lot of trouble here. Okay, let's move on. We still have a few games that stick out. 7.5 there. Really good game here. Notre Dame, Texas A&M. By the way, do we have anything on this game? Let's see. Texas A&M 1-7-1 against the spread. Their last 9 as a road dog. Now, if you want a good playbook special, how about this? Texas A&M has won 11 straight in the 3rd game of the year, whatever that means. 2 of those have been dog wins. Notre Dame, meanwhile, 9-3 ATS, their last 12 as a home favorite. We like East Carolina in this one. We've said it before. Coastal Carolina, they're going to be looking for a new coach next year. The talent has just gone way down. This does not resemble anything like the Coastal Carolina team we saw a few years ago. All right, let's see. There's still a couple of games, I think. Our Commodores. Now, the only thing I'm a little bit concerned with here is there are a couple of teams that I don't know if Vandy, every team has a nemesis team that just has their number. There are 2 teams I'm going to be a little bit unsure about. And that is, and you said it exactly where I was going to go with this. And that is the fact that this is a team that just has Vanderbilt's number. They've beaten them 16 straight times, 9-1 against the spread in those last 10. And that definitely concerns me. So does Tennessee. So South Carolina, Tennessee, those are the 2 that I'm a little bit concerned with. But I'm still going all in on Vanderbilt here because I said it before, and I said it last week. They're going to be a dog a lot this year. And until they prove me wrong, I'm just going to keep taking the money line every week. Because as long as I do that and I keep getting the benefit there and I keep winning, then even if I lose, I'm still way ahead. And I'm doing that again this week. Even at plus 160, I might just take the 4.5 though. But this is the reason I really like this game. In my opinion, the only reason that they lose this game is because they got their number. That's it. South Carolina is not the team that we thought they could be. And I think we've seen that the first 2 games of the season. They have been outgained by both Virginia Tech, and we just talked about Virginia Tech and their problems. They were outgained in that win against Virginia Tech, and they were outgained against South Carolina State last week. They got a kid who's a defensive back who has basically bailed them out of both games with 3 punt return touchdowns. Can you believe that? 2 weeks into the season, and we got a kid that has already returned 3 punts for touchdowns. So this is still 4.5. This has I mean, is Vegas are they taking into account? I guess that's the only thing I can think of is they must be taking into account this big streak that South Carolina has over Vanderbilt. Other than that, if there's no streak, I mean, that's the only thing that is making me think twice. That is it. Other than that, it's all Vanderbilt. They're a better team than South Carolina. And how about this? We said it last week, and it's going to another win. Pavia 13-2 against the spread as a road dog in his last 15. 13-2. So, yes, we're a little bit concerned, but it's another night game, by the way. But we still love Vanderbilt. Duke, man, they got to come back from that whipping last week. That's for sure. Mensa returns to Tulane. That's a nice little story. Wyoming, my little sleeper team from the Mountain West. They might be able to cover this game. I'm going to take them to cover this game. And I think they might, I shouldn't say, I mean, I was making it sound like, it's a big deal to cover 24, but I actually think they could make this a game. I think they could make this a second half game. And if you look at it, so far the defense has played really well, and that is a must for them because their head coach, the defensive coordinator who took over the team last year when Bull left, and this is a big year for him. We've talked about that, and so far so good. Also, how about this? Wyoming 6-1, straight up 5-1 and 1 ATS at home versus non-conference opponents the last 6 years. The only problem with that is they lost last year to BYU in this spot. And again, this was the new coach. So I'm not really looking too much into that. I still think it's important, though, to keep in mind, this is a fan base. This is a program that has been anytime you get that feel in an environment for a fan base of, hey, we can win this. We know this. We've seen them upset Texas Tech at home. We've seen them upset Missouri at home. We can do this. That helps. That sort of confidence. Don't think the players, even this year's team, they don't understand that. So they do. There's a legacy there about it. And this is a big one too. They're 17-1 against the spread as dogs at 8 or more if they're coming into a game after back-to-back wins. I've told you before how much I like Caden Anderson. I think and again, this is talking about Wyoming. If you've seen how Wyoming quarterbacks have looked since Josh Allen's left, it hasn't been pretty. But Caden Anderson is the best quarterback they've had. And I think that's important because they can play good defense. It's tough to play at Wyoming, especially when it starts getting cold there. And having a quarterback that can be good, solid, is something that is a big bonus for them. They also found a really nice receiver in Chris Durr, who's off to a really great start. And the tight end, John Gillenborg, I think it's Michael Gillenborg, he's a pro tight end. Keep an eye on him. Anyway, it's a 23.5 point spread. So I think they'll hang in there. Here's another one. 15.5. I was shocked to see this line at 15.5. We talked a little bit about this last week. And we were talking about it because remember, Mark Lawrence took Texas State to upset UTSA. It was about a 4-point spread. Here it's 15.5. And look, if you've been watching me, I'm all in on Arizona State. It's my pick to win the Big 12 this year. But as I said last week, they didn't exactly have a great start to the season. And then after being down 17 points in the game last week, it was really looking bad. But then what happened? They storm back and they take a 20-17 lead with, I think, a $1.50 left on a field goal. I think it was a field goal. Might have been a touchdown. Anyway, they take the lead down 17-0. All right. And then they give up a 58-yard touchdown pass with 30 seconds to go and lose the game. All that work to come back, to take the lead, and boom, they give up that touchdown and lose the game. But here's the problem for Arizona State. Sam Levitt, the quarterback, is averaging just 5.6 per pass completion. Last year, he was at 8.2. And he's got a 3-3 ratio, touchdown to interception, with a long of 23 yards passing. Last year, he had a 24-6 ratio. The good news is they are running the football. Scadaboo's gone, but they're still running the football. And Tyson is one of the best receivers in college football. That's a big plus. But their overall offense, passing game, besides Tyson, they're not explosive right now. And they played an FCS team to open the season, and now they're playing a Texas State team. G.J. Kinney, as Mark correctly made this point last week, he will be moving on from Texas State soon because he's that good. Texas State has covered 8 straight on the road versus an opponent off a straight-up favored loss. They're also 9-2 against the spread after they allow 35 or more. They've got a redshirt freshman quarterback by the name of Brad Jackson, who's doing a good job taking over for McLeod, I think it was. Running back is good. New running back is good. And Bo Sparks has really come out firing. The receiver, young receiver, 4 touchdowns in their week 1 win, and then a game-winning 68-yard touchdown against UTSA last week in the fourth quarter. So, remember last year, this was a 2-point favorite line for Texas State. And that game, they were leading by 10 points early, Texas State. And Arizona State won a close game. Now, just because Arizona State's at home, it's 15.5. If Arizona State had come out of the gates the first 2 games of the season and looked like a juggernaut, I'd be, okay, I can see that. And Texas State had struggled a little bit. Let's say they lose to UTSA. Then I'd say, okay, I could see that. But the exact opposite is happening. Arizona State is not coming out of the gates firing, and Texas State is. And it's a 13, 14-point swing from last year? Sorry. I don't care why. Just because it's a game at 10 p. Just because it's a game at Arizona State. Come on. I even think the money line is not a dumb play at plus 550. I think Boston College is an easy play here. The line keeps going up as it should. Stanford's pathetic. They're terrible. I don't even know why this line is only 12, except, maybe Stanford, their defense is not bad. Maybe the defense can keep them in it, but they have nothing on offense. And the quarterback, the Alabama transfer, Dylan Lonergan for BC, is doing really well. He's completing 76% of his passes, 8 touchdowns, no interceptions, nearly upset Michigan State last week on the road in overtime. Stanford 6-15-1, ATS last 22 as a home dog. And how about this one? 1-17-1 in their last 19 against the spread off back-to-back straight-up ATS losses. I didn't even need to see that, and I like Boston College. They've got a quarterback, Ben Goldbranson, who's a senior. He's completing 51.6% of his passes for a 4-yard average completion and a no touchdown to 3 interception ratio. I mean, I guess Stanford can cover if it's a 20 to, I don't even know, 17-3 game. No, you can't. 17-6? I don't know. And that's it. Okay. So we're going to talk more about all this in the next couple of days. Don't forget, on Thursdays, every week, it's Wednesdays on 3 o'clock Eastern. It's Jim Feist down at Dom DeMarco's. I will follow to do this. And then Thursdays, the Playbook ATS podcast, Mark Lawrence hosts the show. Jim will be there. I will be there. Andy Isco will be there. NFL, college football. Mark will pick the games and we'll go over it. Then on Friday, it'll be me hosting with Jim and with Mark. And then I'll find out what games we talked about on the Thursday show. And I'll pick a bunch of games that we did not talk about and talk about it on the Friday show. So that is what's going on. And we'll also have picks, final picks, and all that kind of stuff. So that's what's coming up every week here on Proline TV. So make sure to subscribe, and definitely appreciate your comments, sharing, liking the videos are all very important if you want to support the channel. And again, definitely subscribe. So, and one more, I'll give one more to the real DeMarque. Yes, Utah's defense is still very good. And that's why I think it's one of those situations where, look, they're not where they were, Utah's defense. But then again, all of college football has changed in 1 year with the transfers and the graduations. It's not the same. So they've come down a little bit, but there's still a strong unit. And Wyoming doesn't have a powerful offense. So if Wyoming is going to stay in this game, it has to be a low-scoring game, and because it's going to be. Wyoming is not putting up a ton of points on Utah. I don't see that happening as much as I like some of the offensive players in Wyoming. I don't look at this as a good matchup. I just think it's one of the situations, and it's not like later in the year where it's cold. Not that Utah isn't used to it, but it just benefits Wyoming. That's just their nature. But they have to win the special teams and turnovers and stuff like that to keep it close. And look, I've seen it happen many times before in Wyoming. I went over that number when Craig Bohl was there. Question is, can the new coach, Jay Salwell, can he start his own legacy? He needs the one game to get him going. I don't think it's going to be Saturday, but maybe he can keep it close. All right, so I'm out of here. Thanks for tuning in, checking us out as always, and we'll see you tomorrow. Proline TV, that's the big one here. It's the big show. The four of us get together, and we'll hopefully give you some more information. Mark's point of view, Andy's point of view. Jim and I will continue our own analysis and so forth, and we'll see you then.